Hello, all you gorgeous, wonderful, beautiful woman out there. So again, with the confidence to say no, wearing my beautiful pink fur coat from Timu, no less, on a rainy Anzac Day, a day that's celebrated on the 25th normally. I think my son went to the dawn service and a few other people to remember all the Anzacs that died for us. Anyway, I'd just like to share a story which is probably applicable to a lot of us, around self-doubt, I suppose. So I went out to lunch on Sunday with a group of girls that I've probably known 4-5 years, one a bit longer than that. And the conversation got a little bit heated by one of the girls, and she was basically saying that, I was criticising her son, which I wasn't, and that I'd criticised her boyfriend, which I definitely hadn't, because I really like her boyfriend, and that I was indirectly, criticising other people's sons. I'm going, okay, I kind of missed something here. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Anyway, it got quite heated. Not on my side, it didn't get heated, because I wasn't really understanding what the conversation was actually about. So I actually got quite hurt, and I had to leave. So when I went home, I had nothing to do with my phone until the next morning. I had a good think about it, and I thought, well, I'm some mean and nasty person that goes around criticising and making judgments on other people. Now, I know that I'm really black and white, and that I've got a big mouth sometimes, and I'm loud. I know all of those things about me, but I am not a nasty person. That is not what I am, and there's no way I would have criticised this girl's son at all because he's gorgeous, or her boyfriend, or any of the boys that she was talking about. So, and I'm quite insightful, so I have to kind of look at myself and analyse myself and go, well, was there some truth in that? And I had a go at one of the other girls on a trip that we went to, and I apologise for that. I don't remember exactly the conversation, but I know I was harsh on in that particular conversation, and I admit to that. So anyway, I get up today, and a friend rings me and needed some help with Airtasker, so she came around and I helped her. Then she took me out for lunch, and then what happened? We were walking up the street, and I saw like a Samoan family walking towards me. I was going to say Talofa, and then I realised it was actually one of the girls that I used to coach in rugby union. And we had this amazing conversation, like she was working in a women's refuge, the husband was working with at-risk youth, like the things that I like, particularly working with at-risk youth. And also during the lunch, I had a phone call from a really lovely friend of mine that we'd worked together in Charlie's back in the 80s, and ended up coming home and having a phone call with her, and then I got on to this topic of what had happened at lunch. And she was really good because she's blunt and she's black and white like me, probably not as loud as I am. But the moral of that story, I suppose, is if you get criticised for something and you're thinking, what? I didn't really actually say that, or it's not something I would do, but because you're being bombarded by the other person who is, having a go at you, you can, and probably not getting necessarily a lot of support from anybody else, which I don't necessarily expect, you think, well, okay, then maybe there's some truth in what she's saying. So after I'd gone to lunch, had a phone call with my mate, we're catching up for lunch soon, I realised that I don't think it was my shit. I don't think it was my shit. I think it was her shit. I think something was going on with her, and then she was sort of saying, you know, that I'm really loud, and oh, yes, I'm loud. I've been loud my whole entire life. I spent my primary school getting the strap. I spent my high school writing out, I am an animated mess of humanity, intoxicated with the exuberance of my own verbosity. And so I know what I'm like, but I know what I'm not like, and I'm not a nasty person. So just remember that when you get criticised, and it is good to look at the criticism, you know, and be insightful and go, well, did I say that? Or was I misinterpreted? Or should I have said this another way? Or should we just go out and just talk about the weather? I'm not really sure. But anyway, I was reaffirmed by a whole lot of my other friends after that. And, you know, I feel better, but I was really beating myself up. So, girls, have the confidence to say no and maybe walk away. Or, if you are in the wrong, say yes, you know, I was in the wrong. I shouldn't have said that, which that didn't happen for me, but I will certainly admit when I have said, you know, the wrong thing. So just remember, girls, I've got this, okay? And I shall see you next time. And just before I leave, congratulations on the Blues just beating the Reds yesterday. Okay, bye, ka kite.